advantages of story teaching, and some suggested activities to enhance story teaching. Learning outcomes. Through this virtual class of story teaching, Hello everyone, this is Pooja Sharma from State Institute of Education. Today we will talk about story teaching. In this topic, we will discuss about story teaching, elements of a good story, steps to teach story, use of story teaching in classroom, advantages of story teaching, and some suggested activities to enhance story teaching. Learning outcomes. Through this virtual class of story teaching, student teachers are able to teach and understand the story properly. They are able to narrate their own story in their own words. This video also helps them to enhance their vocabulary, listening skills and writing skills. This video also helps them to enhance their vocabulary, listening skill and writing skill. Further, they are able to complete incomplete stories. What is story teaching? Let's first discuss what is story teaching. Story teaching is an art that contributes to students' academic success and emotional well-being. It is an ancient art that helps to enhance the power of imagination, listening, speaking, and writing skills. It is a cultural and social activity of sharing. While teaching in a classroom, teacher shares his knowledge, experiences, and events of life through words by using sketches, images, and sound. Elements of a good story. There are some elements in a good story. A good story must have a start or a particular beginning that includes the introduction of the characters. In the rising action, there is a series of events that leads up to the main problem. The climax of the story is the peak of the action. At this point, the main character confronts the action. In the following action, characters work to solve the problem. In any story, there is a resolution towards the end of the story. All the challenges are overcome by the central character. Steps of story teaching. While teaching story in a classroom, teacher should follow following steps. Create an interesting story teaching atmosphere to arouse the curiosity of the students. While teaching a story, try to win the heart of the audience with your first line. Have full control on your emotions, feelings, and facial expressions. Talk with your hands to narrate the events of the story. Keep the flow of the story logical and involve all the students in the story. Uses of story teaching. It is a great tool to form rapport with students, to make connections, to help students to express themselves. It stokes their imagination and makes them curious. This will also help them to predict that what will happen next in the story. Classroom management. Story teaching is a great classroom management technique and it makes children much more receptive apart from all the advantages in language development. To discuss sensitive issues. Sensitive issues can also be discussed through story teaching. Sensitive issues like racism, violence, religious belief, and gender discrimination can be discussed by story teaching. Story teaching can generate meaningful discussions and helps to develop an understanding of various incidents that provides freedom of expression to students. It also helps in forming peer relationships. Advantages of story teaching. Story teaching is useful for both teacher and the student. So let's see the advantages of story teaching for students as a cognitive process. It helps students to infer and derive meaning from what they have heard. It also helps them in problem solving because they relate the happenings of the story to their real life situations. It helps them to sequence the story in a logical order. Further, it helps them to understand the emotions of their own self as well as emotions of the others. They also learn to empathize. That means they learn to understand how another person would be feeling at a particular time or in a particular situation. It further enhances social development of students. When they work together in the classroom, it leads to collaboration, cooperation, and initiative taking. One story can generate multiple views and perspectives of students. It further provides conversational flow to the students through which students get space to express themselves and thus lead to active participation and meaningful engagement in the classroom. Advantages for teachers. Story teaching helps teachers to reach out to all the students. Along with this, it addresses diversity in the classroom because students in a class come from diverse backgrounds. Diversity can be based on caste, class, gender, and language. It helps teachers to sustain students' interest and create meaningful association with students. The association that teacher form with the students while story teaching in the classroom will be long-lasting and impactful. It helps them to understand the cultural context of the students. They will be able to understand each and every student individually. Students can be given active voices where they can voice their opinions. Suggested activities. Now I am going to suggest a few activities that are related to story teaching. The first one is students drawing. We can explore story teaching through students drawing. After narrating a story, ask students to draw a particular character or scene from the story that they would like to draw. After the completion of drawing, we can ask them what they have drawn. This will lead to a dialogue and they will become more confident to speak about their drawing. Students' drawing are based on their individual interpretations. Their drawings are the combination of those visuals and words which captures their attention and concentration. Their drawings on the simple visual responses are the result of their recall and story understanding. Story completion. We can also narrate incomplete stories to the students and ask them to complete it. Every student can give a different version of the story. They may extend the story, they may distort it, they may substitute new characters or add new characters and make up their own story. It might give personal interpretation and different meaning to the story. It leads to comprehension at the different levels because all the students will understand the story at their own level. It will also leads to free expression and response from all the students. That makes the whole class inclusive because all the students are participating in it. Story enactment. We can also use role play or story enactment. After narrating a story, ask students to enact the story. For this, make groups and give them different stories on which they would be enacting. Dramatization of these stories gives them a freedom to infer, derive meaning, and modify the story at their own discretion. This happens because they will think of the characters, who will become what character, who will be the narrator, and how are they going to portray the different characters of the story. For this, they will be together and work on it. It also helps them in solving problems and they deal with the challenges and bring a resolution. The last point is student as a storyteller. Now we will talk about student as a storyteller where they themselves make and narrate their own story. Till now our student is a listener, but now we give them an opportunity to tell their own story. It transforms them as active storyteller from active listener. This provides them a conversational floor from where their voices can be heard. This makes them feel confident and increases their self-esteem. Assignment. Read the given instruction and complete the given assignment. Assignment 1. Draw a picture of a person in your notebook. Then elicit a name for the character. You can give any name to the character. For example, the name is Mary. Add more lines to the story like Mary is a good girl, she has a puppy, and so on. In this way, try to make a story. Keep adding to the story until you make a complete story. Assignment 2. Quick story method. As the name suggests, it is a quick story method. Through this method, one can make a story in a very short time. Try to remember 10 words from the last class, then use these words in meaningful and logical sentences and arrange these sentences in a systematic way to make a story. You can make it in verbal or written form. Assignment 3. Some words are given below on card A and card B. Choose one card and make a story with the given words. You can add more words according to your choice. Assignment 4. Some pictures are given on the slide. Select one picture and try to write a story. Finally, I would say that in this virtual class, you have learned to understand the story, narrate the story, enhance vocabulary, develop listening skills and writing skills, and complete incomplete story. In fact, story teaching is a social experience because it leads to collaboration across peers in the classroom. They all come together and learn teamwork if we give them activities to be done in the group. In fact, story teaching is an important tool to enhance the language development of the student, and it leads to the holistic development of the student. Thank you.